It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Have you ever listened to people speaking and found that their voice bored you and your attention began to drift? Or have you found that someone has drifted off on you? It's happened to all of us at some point in our lives. Every time you present a speech, your voice, body and mind are involved in getting the message across to the audience. However, since the voice is the connection between the speaker and the listener, vocal variety is perhaps the most important tool to make your speech enjoyable, because a good speaking voice has quite a few features to it. It's easily heard due to clear pronunciation and good volume control. It's pleasing to listen to because it carries a feeling of friendliness in its tone. It's sincere, showing the real personality and authenticity of the speaker. It's strong, conveying energy and power, even when not particularly loud. It sounds animated and full of life, never sounding dull and emotionless. Now, the voice has a great variety of sounds that it can make. Its remarkable range of highs and lows can reflect to the listener the lightness or heaviness of what you're trying to communicate. It is important, though, to be aware that as each of us is unique, your range might differ from another person's. This could be due to the size of your throat and nasal passages, or the size of your vocal cords. Some people find that they can make different sounds because they instinctively know how to use the chamber of their mouth. The more you understand, the more you can explore and extend the possibilities when it comes to public speaking. Today, I'll focus on pitch, volume, speaking speed, pronunciation, and the purpose of the powerful pause. So what is pitch? Pitch is the variation in the highs, the lows, and the mid-ranges that add interest to your voice. Without pitch, you would speak in a mind-numbing drone, putting your listeners to sleep. If you talk in a high-pitched, squeaky voice, you'll probably find that your audience will put their hands over their ears or roll their eyes. Now, the aim is to adapt the tone of your voice to the material you're presenting. For example, a high pitch tells the audience that you're excited and enthusiastic. In contrast, a low pitch points towards thoughtfulness or sadness or even gravitas. So now we're going to talk about speaking volume. Volume in public speaking isn't about how loud you can be. Volume is about how you throw your voice to the back of the room without shouting. It's called voice projection, and it's something that actors use all the time. To ensure you achieve voice projection, you'll need to imagine your voice reaching the back of the room. You'll need to visualize your voice moving past your lips, directing it forwards towards the area where you want it to go. Practice saying the word ma quietly at first, and slowly and gently begin letting the word come out with more projection. Hear how you sound as you do it. Do you sound like you're shouting, or does the volume get more pronounced so that you don't feel as if you're shouting at all? Let's talk about speaking speed. Usually people aren't conscious of their normal speaking speed and whether their listeners can understand them. As a result, they may not realize that their speech could be considered too slow or too fast by people outside of their usual environment. Regardless, changes in audiences' behavior and speech purpose can force a need to become more aware of our speaking speed. Speech can be too fast, slow, or somewhere in between. An effective speaker will vary their speech rate to give impact. You can speak slowly to convey a deeper meaning to your point or convey the boredom you felt when doing something. You can speak quickly, but not so fast that you lose the listeners, to show excitement in something. Your speaking pace can be used to create and maintain an illusion of the picture you're creating with your words, create a dramatic effect, or assist in clarity of speech. A controlled speaking speed must be used for clear pronunciation. If you speak too quickly or too slowly, you may find that you lose the most influential people in the room, your listeners. A reasonable speech rate is between 163 to 200 words per minute, with the ideal between 168 to 178 words per minute. For example, suppose you speak too slowly. In that case, you may give the listener the perception that you're slow thinking, possibly uneducated, and even worse, incompetent, even when you know you're not. However, speaking slower is vital if you have a foreign accent, as pronunciation may challenge the listener. If you do have an accent, it's acceptable to talk under 163 words per minute, perhaps even at a speed closer to 140 words per minute. However, when you do that, you should make sure that every word you say is pronounced clearly. On the other hand, if you speak too quickly, the listener may feel that you don't care whether they hear what you're saying or not, or it could indicate nervousness. It could also show that the speaker is trying too hard to remember what they need to say and is determined to get it out as quickly as possible. Whichever it is, the listener is likely to tune out and begin thinking about other things because they're struggling to keep up with you. Likewise, if the content has no meaning and is spoken too slowly, the listener may become irritated and indifferent. For example, a slow speaker telling a story about a meeting agenda or something else less important may notice that the listener's eyes become unfocused as their mind wanders on to what they consider more important aspects of their life. Interestingly, speakers who are not speaking in their native tongue often talk in their adopted language at the same rate as their mother tongue. A person with a foreign accent can use this as a point of difference and can make their accent work for them by making them interesting to listen to. Therefore, speaking at a slower rate will increase non-native English speakers' chances of being better understood. Humour and light-hearted messages are best communicated at a quicker rate because we process humorous information a lot faster and are eager to hear the next laugh-inducing story. The most important thing that you can do for yourself when determining the rate of speech you want to use is to question the content of your message. Is the intention of your speech to inform, persuade, entertain, or inspire the audience? Irrespective of the speed you choose, make sure you show enthusiasm through vocal variety and facial expressions. There are a few simple ways to roughly gauge your speech rate. I use the following two. Option 1 is record, talk, and count. This is a more precise measure of your speech rate. However, it does involve talking about a topic for 1 minute without any preparation. Think of a subject that genuinely interests you, such as your favorite hobby. Ideally, the most effective way to do this would be to use a device that will convert your speech to text, such as Dragon Naturally Speaking. When you're ready, begin speaking and start recording yourself. Speak only for 1 minute and capture the text, which can be downloaded to your computer. Then cut and paste the recorded text into a Word document with a word count ability. Now, if you don't have a device that captures your voice and then converts it to text, use your phone or other electronic machine. This way does take longer to work out how fast you speak. However, it's very accurate if you can keep up with your speaking speed. Ensure that you talk for at least 1 minute. When you finish speaking, press rewind, play the tape back several times to count the number of the words spoken in 1 minute. Wow, that sounds really archaic, doesn't it? The tape. I'm showing my age. Option 2, talk and count. The second method is not as entirely accurate as option 1. However, it is easier to count and get a general idea of how fast you speak. Read from a non-complicated book. By picking one that's fairly simple, you'll speak more fluidly. I use Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Last Straw by Jeff Kidney. Practice a couple of times first and try pacing yourself as if talking at your normal rate. See how far you get after a minute has gone by, then count the number of words you're able to express in 1 minute. This gives you a good idea of your presentation speech rate. Now, if you're giving a speech or a presentation, the concept of an average speaking rate doesn't apply. What does is flexibility, and having the ability to mix and match your speaking speed appropriately with speech content and the audience's ability to understand it. An effective speaker will vary their speech rate to give impact. I'm going to talk about pronunciation now. One of the most frustrating aspects of communication, whether a trained public speaker or not, is when you're listening to someone speak and you're working really hard to understand what they're saying because they don't talk clearly and mumble, slur, rush or speak sloppily. Particularly when people get their words mixed up, and we all do that. However, when public speaking and saying words like ox instead of ask, or incorrect meanings such as pacifically, which means peaceably, mildly, calmly or quietly, when they actually mean specifically, which means in a way that is exact and clear or precisely. Getting the word correct and the pronunciation is essential when you want to convey any message of importance, particularly when there's a call to action in your presentation. Of course, different scenarios can create the effect of having your words blending into each other to become one long, laborious mumble word. That was hard work. Often this happens when the speaker has become excited or nervous and their speaking rate accelerates. So how can you combat mumbling and speaking too quickly? Well, tongue twisters are a great way to help prevent mumbling. You could try saying these 3 examples after me. She sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper, where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? 7 singing sisters sit on the stairs when singing songs. Also, having an accent should not make a difference in pronunciation. Open your mouth fully, not through slightly parted lips, and allow your lips and tongue to move freely. Become aware of your tongue when you speak, as it can sometimes get in the way of your words, an issue which may only come to light when we become aware of it. Practice the tongue twisters, which will help you with your pronunciation and have you giggling too. So why make use of the powerful pause? There are times when well-timed silences or pauses has an impact on your speech and are a powerful speaking technique. A pause can be used to emphasize your main points because a moment of silence before a statement tells the listeners that you're about to say something important. A brief pause after you make a statement tells them that what you just said is important. Breathe, since appropriate pauses are your opportunity to inhale. Give yourself the chance to take that breath before you run out of it. Punctuate, as pauses often serve as punctuation, telling listeners that you have ended a sentence or thought. Attract attention, because there are times when you may feel that your audience is distracted and aren't listening to what you're saying. When this happens, pause. Your audience will notice your silence, which will bring their attention back to you. I hope you found this useful. Remember, your voice is an incredibly powerful tool, so it's worth getting to know it at a deeper level, primarily because you use it every day, whether at work or at home.